Hello world, I'm Johannes from Axon, and today I want to show you how to use the Crusher X in a Hypnotic Techno track, how to use it in a more rhythmic controlled way. This is the project for today. I created a little low-end groove with a simple kick and a bass line sounding like that. Just so we have a bass and a rhythm we can work with. We are looking today at the Crusher X here as an instrument instant because I wanted to create sound and not but just be an effect. Here's a fresh new empty Crusher X, so we can start making our sound. The whole idea in this case was that I created the sound with the DCOs that the Crusher X provides. We will start making 3 different DCOs and combine them with each other. The first one will just be a simple sine wave, as it is already here prepared in the first one, and we will leave it like that. Then we add another DCO, which we want to have a sample being played. In this case, I will choose a factory preset from Axon and the back to work. This sounds like that. I like the texturous and noisiness that it gives us. And the third one we will add is as well a sample. In this case I used one from Richard Devine, also from the stock Burning Embers. This one also is texturous, windy, and has an interesting stereo image. Now we can combine all these 3 by activating all of them. And the second and the third one, the 2 samples, we want to decrease the volume a little bit so they're a bit quieter, because otherwise they would be too loud compared to the sinus wave we have in the first one. This is the whole combination we have now. Can make them a tiny bit louder. They will already move and be different over time because the samples are being played in a loop. Now we want to continue by creating our modulations and everything related to the grains. Let's start with the delay. The delay I increased a little bit, and I want it to be modulated with a simple sine wave, so the different grains are being shifted, delayed slightly. It's a simple sine wave. Secondly, I will add 6 voices at the same time, and we can continue by going to the length of the different grains. They also should be modulated. I want them to be different every time, and that every grain for every voice is different. So I will again give it a modulation, quite much this time, and I will also increase the spread so it really changes for every grain. And I want to time sync it this time, so I will sync it with our project. Let's continue with the birth rate. I just increased the birth rate a little bit. I don't add any modulation in this case. Let's continue with the grain life. I leave it at eternal, and it's important that it is eternal, so the sound continues continuously, because we will not use the birth rate as the length of the grains, but we will use an envelope. Then we have the speed, which is the pitch. So I decrease the pitch a little bit. I just want it to be a bit more deeper. So we have our root note as a bit lower pitch. We continue with the sweep, the pitch modulation inside of the grains. I really increase it only slightly. It gives a tiny bit of movement extra. Then I continue with the GCO, which means I can add an oscillating sine wave or sample or whatever inside each grain. And I will add a little bit of GCO, just a few percentages, and add them as a FM and ring modulation. I only added a little bit the mix because otherwise it will get really noisy and very distorted, because it will be very intense. And I also give it a little bit of modulation with spread, so every grain is affected differently. We continue with the GCO pitch, which I also modulated, increased a little bit, and modulate tiny bit. This is our current sound. Here you can see how it sounds when this frequency is modulated. We can also use this later and automate it, or let it modulate with the modulation we have here. The GCO wave I will not really use, but if you want to, you can increase it a little bit. Just try out. All these values can be changed and manipulated. Just have fun and explore. The next one's wave shape and X-Crush I don't use, as well as bit crush, because it makes my sound now too noisy. We continue with the frequency filter and the frequency Q. Okay, the filter I want to have quite high, but manipulated with the modulation. So actually we have quite much movement from the filtering, but slowly, so it moves very slowly and organic. And I will increase the Q drastically, because I really like this filtered QE sound. And we will modulate it as well. And we will time sync it to 4 times our speed with a very spread as well. So when we play it now, it will be modulated in the time of our project. As you can hear now, when I press play, we already have the shortened notes. Before I just pressed one key and I let it play while I press the key. And the MIDI sequence I created here is a polymetric sequence where I just play 2 notes, which repeats the whole time, and it gives us this polymetric effect on a 4/4 beat to have a 3/4 rhythm, which sounds like that. This is where we are at right now. And how I managed to have the sound playing really short is because I went here into the ADSR editor and activated here the envelope ADSR. Otherwise the sound would just play forever. And now it just plays as long as I hold the key, and then it shows us the release time. We can increase the release time. Then when I release the key, the sound is still there for a longer time. Or we can decrease it, then the sound gets very short. And this helps us to create this RP effect for our MIDI rhythm. The shorter the release, the shorter the sound, obviously. The longer we can really wash it out. I quickly want to finish the sound creation by adding some loop feedback. It's not necessary, but it can bring some interesting artifacts sometimes. And makes the sound interesting as well. We can also add some modulation, or as you can hear, there's some tiny clicks and cuts added in the back. It sounds very interesting. This is the current sound and I'm pretty happy with it. If you want to, you can increase the voices. I think 6 is for this pretty fine, and just try and experiment with the values. You will really get into interesting fields, and the sound will just evolve and be different every time. Now I want to add some macros, so we have some more modulation and manipulation possibilities. Firstly, I want to change the pitch of the first DCO we added, the sine wave. I would like to be able to manipulate it by hand. So we'll right click and add a modulation macro to it. This macro is now manipulating the pitch of the first DCO. As we can hear, this is changing this frequency. But I want it to be more limited and not go from 1 Hz to the full 12 kHz, but I want a specific range. So I go to my MIDI setup window and go to my macro and change the minimum and maximum value. In this case, I want it to be 400 Hz to 8000. So I have a specific range and I add it to the macro. Now my macro is limited to from 400 to the 8000. That's how I can add these higher pitched tones. And then I will create another macro. In this case, I wanted to manipulate the filter. So I go to the filter offset and right click it and set it to the macro 2. Now we have it here in the macro 2 and it will move the filter. While this filter is moved by the macro, it will also be moved by the modulation, so don't be confused. But I want to be able to modulate it by hand as well, so I can make my sound brighter or darker. As you can hear, this is the filter more closed. Or we open it up, then it gets brighter. We can add the higher pitch tones with the second macro. This is our sound. This is the finished creation of it, and the final touch for it is by adding some effects and giving it a more roomy and delayed effect. In this case, we can either use some stock delay, for example, this one. It will just add an interesting delay. This would be option 1. Another option could be, for example, Valhalla Supermassive. It also gives us a very delayed, spaced out effect. And just by changing the macros, the filter, and the pitch of the first envelope, the filter and the pitch of the first DCO we created, we can really create a super evolving and ever-changing sound. And by changing whatever values we find besides, the sound will always change. That's it for today. I hope you liked this little video and this little tutorial, and I find it very interesting how you can use the crusher as well in a very controlled and rhythm-based way, and I hope to see you next time, and thanks for watching.